So Ukraine keeps going after Russian infrastructure. Russia keeps going after Ukrainian civilians. Nothing's changed there. But the unique feature today is that there was also an attack during rush hour. So a Russian attack in Kyiv during about rush hour time. Loud explosions heard in Kyiv. Air Force reports Russian drones heading toward the capital. If you look at a time at 2:34 a.m., that's somewhere near rush hour time. Jay in Kyiv talked about this here. Russian savages bombing Kyiv right now, Tuesday morning, rush hour. Yeah, I mean, that's just what's going on here, right? Okay, let's talk about all the other things going on. I'll talk about Ukraine's hit on infrastructure and then Russia's attacks overnight. And then we'll talk about a lot of other just little stories that we want to tie up and kind of bring you up to speed on. In Bryansk last night, there were big explosions recorded earlier in the evening. You can see that off in the distance. Explosions in Tangarag. Then you see Russian air defense missiles completely missed their targets and struck a residential building in Rostov. That sky is not supposed to look like that. Yeah. And then you see the Russians attacking the Ukrainians, 150 Shahed type missiles being fired. Ukrainians downed 120 across northern, southern, eastern, central regions. At least 30 drones, however, hit targets in 9 locations. And this is independent of the rush hour thing this morning. Kyiv region are under Russian drone attack this morning. Kids have to hide in shelters. So the subway doubles as a shelter instead of being in class. So they see how they have all these like little chairs, like they're already there for school during the day. And then you got to be there at night. That's not fun. Right now, school lessons in Kyiv are taking place underground bomb shelters. This morning, Ukrainian air defenses were active over the capital, intercepting Russian drones. This is just Ukraine's reality. This is where they are. It's terrible to see. On September 2nd, Russia launched a massive UAV strike on Bila Tverska, Kyiv Oblast. Hangars and a 3-story building were burned. Russia rescuers found 1 dead. Elsewhere, 3 homes and garages were destroyed. This is just the ongoing reality. The attack ignited fires and caused destruction to these hangars and the 3-story building. All fires are now contained. Okay, let's look at what's going on the battlefield. And then after the battlefield, we'll talk about a number of follow-up stories that are kind of really important, but there's no other place really to put them. Okay, 800 Russians off the battlefield day over day. 1 tank, 4 armored fighting vehicles, 53 artillery systems, 89 vehicles and fuel tanks. So this 800 number, like 700, 800, 900, something like that. It really doesn't move from that kind of range over the last couple of weeks. And that's reasonably low compared to what it's been. Like its height has been up to 15, 17, 19, right? Per cross direction, Russian invaders conducted 43 assaults. That 43 assault number is high for the number of casualties, which seems to indicate that there were more attacks and fewer casualties. And maybe that's a function of drones keeping the attacks from really being mass attacks. Okay, this is the British intelligence update talking about what's happening on the battlefield, and this is really instructive. Russian military activity has reduced in the Kharkiv and Sumy Oblast as Russian ground forces relocate elements of its forces to other parts of the front line. The relocation of forces is highly likely part of an attempt to increase pressure on priority axes, including Donetsk Oblast. Like that's really the only priority as far as I can see. Now, after the Istanbul conference, they said, well, we'll take Kharkiv and Sumy too. Well, that didn't work out at all. And so now that it hasn't worked out, they've been pushed back. So they're not putting pressure there anymore. They're just going to move their forces elsewhere. Open source reporting indicates that the last 2 days, Ukrainian forces successfully conducted counterattacks to the west of Kupiansk, an important logistics hub in the Kharkiv Oblast. Russia has made significant gains in efforts to envelop Kupiansk over the last month. In the northern Donetsk region over the past 10 days, Russian forces have advanced through and are contesting the Serbryansk forest. Russian forces have consolidated positions along the adjacent Seversky Donetsk River, serving as a natural defensive barrier. Russian ground forces are almost certainly using the forest as partial cover against uncrewed aerial systems, with a likely eventual objective toward Yampil, approximately 10 kilometers west of their current position. If Yampil is captured, it will likely serve as a potential launch point for assaults into the city of Liman, a key rail logistics hub 9 kilometers northwest of Yampil. Pokrovsk likely remains Russia's priority axis. I think that's absolutely fair. That's the focus. That's what they want more than anything else. That's the big prize, and that's what we pay most attention to. Russian forces are using a variety of assault methods, including motorcycle swarming and small group probing attacks in attempts to infiltrate Ukrainian positions. It's not working out so great, but little by little, where there's a will, there's a way, and 100,000 expendable bodies. Okay, Ukrainian forces pushed back Russian troops in the Pokrovsk sector and liberated the town of Novoekonomikini. It's northeast of Pokrovsk. I don't know if I got that right. Novoekonomishny, I guess. General Staff has confirmed the liberation of Novoekonomishny in Donetsk region, as first announced by the 425th Selka Regiment. Selkya Regiment, whose soldiers raised the Ukrainian flag. The village holds strategic value, lying on the key TO 0504 highway linking Pokrovsk and Mironod and Konstantinivka. So that's good that they had that. And we also saw this too. Ukraine liberates Udachny village near Pokrovsk. After 2 weeks of house-to-house fighting, Ukrainian soldiers liberated Udachny in Donetsk Oblast, raising the national flag over the settlement 10 kilometers west of Pokrovsk. In the Kherson Oblast, Russian drone team set up on top of a grain silo. And here, what you're seeing, this big boom, Ukrainian Air Force MiG-29 proceeded to drop a JDAM glide bomb on them. So they're no longer harassing from up on top of that grain silo. A swarm of Ukrainian FPV drones struck a Russian military facility. After the first FPV breached the entrance, 2 more FPVs entered the facility, hunting down Russian military equipment and personnel. So these guys are just walking around, and all of a sudden they hear the FPV and they get out of Dodge. And they get out of Dodge really, really quickly. Guys, let's get out of here. And then you see that, whatever that big boom was. So, okay. Here's a view from a cockpit jump seat of a Ukrainian Mi-8 HIP helicopter gunship on a strike mission, flying just above the ground over eastern Ukraine. Now, they fly just above the ground because it's hard for radar to detect them. This is also really dangerous because the higher you are, the safer you are when you're in an airplane or a helicopter or something like that. When you're just above the ground, something can go wrong very quickly. Okay. Some of these other articles that I wanted to talk about, some of these other issues, John Bolton is still out there doing his thing, even though he's, been raided by the FBI. The only acceptable outcome for Ukraine is the full restoration of Ukrainian sovereignty and territory. Anything less signals to the rest of the world that aggression will be allowed. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Bolton is saying the right thing. As far as the raid from the FBI, I highly doubt that anything's going to be really turned up, except maybe something that happened to be on his computer from while he still had clearance that hasn't been somehow erased after he had clearance, and they'll try to get him on some kind of technicality. But he's a pretty straight shooter. Jessica Berlin posted this oxymoron of the day: European deterrence. I hope that is no longer true, or that stops being true, that this is an oxymoron and that the Europeans really step up in a meaningful way. But we say strong words, but strong words are just not enough. Okay, John Cleese of Monty Python fame. What Putin hates above anything else is democracy. When the 14 former USSR states chose democracy instead of rule by Russia, they became an existential threat to him. It's not NATO he fears, it's democracy. I think Cleese is pretty right here. It's like Ukraine is more feared because it's an alternative to Russia right on the border than anything about them joining NATO. That's right. And as for Cleese and Monty Python and all that, I like traffic lights. And though my name's not Bamber, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, Gary Kasparov pointed this out. This was really interesting. So President Naraki, during events marking the 86th anniversary of the outbreak of World War II, now remember, he's the president of Poland, stated that he wants reparations from Germany. Okay, I mean, I get that. I mean, it's kind of bad timing right now during the war with Ukraine, but I get that. If I was Poland, I'd feel pretty bad about Germany as well. But Gary Kasparov pointed this out. A timely demand, but why no demand of reparations from Russia, which allied with Germany to launch World War II and invade Poland? That's right. Like, are we forgetting about the pact? Like this is what caused it. And Russia's hands are just as bloody as Germany's in this. Okay, yesterday I talked about this blueprint for confrontation, Russia's map of war on NATO's border, where they had this map including Odessa and other things. And okay, so if you thought that, we're just making stuff up here, and got to go back and see that video if you haven't. And I don't know that this was okay, when I think about it, I think that they're trying to plant a seed of fear or worry, or that Russia is bigger and tougher than they otherwise are. But Russian State Duma member Viktor Solovlev has once again voiced imperial ambitions, claiming that regions like Sumy, Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaiv, and Odessa are part of Russia and must be fully liberated as part of the so-called special military operation. So, like, if you thought that this was just making it up, it's not. I mean, this guy's saying it too. Okay, another story. What are they throwing out the White House windows? We saw this. I didn't even know the White House windows open, frankly. I mean, I thought for security they wouldn't do that. But apparently there was somebody spotted throwing some kind of package out of the White House window yesterday. It was a big to-do. People were like, here we are. Somebody's throwing something out of the White House window. What is it? We just don't know. Okay. So I don't know. I don't have a better answer. I mean, I looked it up with AI, trash or debris, personal items, documents or effects, other objects. There are people that were making, like saying, oh, it's diapers or it's the Epstein files or whatever. I have no idea what it is. Nobody knows what it is yet. While we're talking about conspiracy theories, this is a little less of a conspiracy theory. The Pentagon Pizza Report was showing last night that within an hour to close, both Domino's locations nearby the Pentagon are reporting high traffic. Likewise, both Papa John's nearby the Pentagon are also experiencing high levels of traffic. Now, that could just be that people got hungry on Monday night. But there's also something to when something big is about to happen within the Pentagon, that this kind of thing spikes. And so, I mean, if I'm going to have a conspiracy theory compared between this and this, I'm going to go with the one that actually has some evidence behind it over time. Speaking of other conspiracy theories, Trump is dead, says there is a hashtag that's going on. Where is Trump is another hashtag. Trump is missing. So that people haven't seen Trump for a couple of days. They're wigging out. Well, it turns out like there's nothing really that we know that's going on. He was playing golf apparently yesterday, and then people are complaining work-life balance. Trump spends almost a third of his presidential term playing golf. Okay, which way do you want it, people? Do you want him doing more of what he does in the White House, or do you want him playing golf? Okay, I mean, for my money, play golf, right? Out of 225 days of his second term, he spent 66 days on his own golf courses. On his first day of autumn, he's also at a golf club in Virginia, White House reports. Okay, when he's playing golf, he's not adding bad tariffs and creating terrible foreign policy and things along those lines. And so, I mean, I would just leave that alone. But, is Trump dead? I highly doubt that, especially since Trump will make a new statement from the Oval Office and the White House today at 2100 Kyiv time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's expected to address the nation later today as a deadline that for Putin to make significant progress toward peace. I think this is either the 6th or 7th 2-week deadline. I could be wrong about that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. Okay. I saw this and I thought, wow, these guys ought to be highlighted. Zarina Zabrinsky posted this. Herzon, a couple in their late 80s, wakes up to an aerial bomb destroying their house as they miraculously stay unharmed. Okay, their house is a pile of rubble. Their garden is now a giant pit. But Olena and Boris laugh and say the Russians will not live to see them break down. They're awesome. Like, that is the resilience that I've seen so much of in this war. Like, they're tough. Like, okay. Darth Putin, 2 more things and we'll be done. To help Trump achieve peace, Russia will keep invading. To prevent peace, Ukraine will keep defending. See, that's those bad Ukrainians. They just keep defending, and that's what's stopping the peace. And then finally this, good morning from brave Ukrainian warriors and their furry comrade. We'll leave you with that image. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.